It says we're live.
There we go then, so I think it was second time lucky. Good evening everyone, welcome back to another week of FPRL. As always, kicking us off on Wednesday evenings, it's our Tier 3 grid, Tier 3 field, who are hopefully going to give us some good racing, as always, this week in Hungary, Budapest. A love or hate track for a lot of the drivers out there. Looks like we're going to get a dry session, which is music to the ears of at least one driver I can think of in the field this evening. But I'm joined once again, as always, on these Wednesday evenings by my partner in crime, TJM1992. TJ, I've not had a chance to speak to you tonight before the stream, so this is the first time I'm really speaking to you, so how are you? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Felt better, but I felt a lot worse, so soldier on through this stream. And Tier 3, as always, providing the cleanest of racing for all the drivers in the field and spectators will agree with. As we've got Panic End out to take us on a lap. I've been unable, TJ, to do a bit of research before the session today, so I can't quite recall the last few race winners. Don't know if you know the last 3 people to win the race in Tier 3. I remember last week's.
So we've got Midfield Maestro one. Midfield Maestro won in France. In Austria it was I'm Not Good. And then in Silverstone we had Snedden.
Yep. The reason I asked that is I thought it was 3 different winners. The last 3 races we've had in its tier, as Panic End invalidates his fast flying lap then. Next driver pounding along is Swilzer in the arse. There's a bit of a gap between Panic End and Swilzer, looking to get out really early in the session. A lot of the drivers out there as well at the moment as it stands, but not a cloud in the sky, so it looks like hopefully we should be on for a dry session, at least for the driver's sake, because I can't imagine this track is the easiest in the dry, let alone the wet, TJ.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously one driver, Adrian, would be very grateful that there isn't a cloud in the sky and it's nice and sunny. But yeah, driving this in the dry, as you mentioned, it's hard enough as it is, really.
Yep, Swilzer putting in a good time of 1:17.5 then, the first lap we'll see in qualifying after Panic End invalidated his first flying run. Iron Jaw in second with a 1:18.1. Forgive me if I'm wrong, TJ, I've not been keeping up with the new drivers as much as I've been able to the past week, but I think that's his first race, Iron Jaw. No?
Yes, it is.
Did he race last week?
No, it is his debut race tonight for Iron Jaw. I think that's it for new drivers. Midfield Maestro obviously raced last week and won around France. We got our usual lineups from what I can see. As Willie Bum as our first victim of the Hungary ring.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you there, TJ, as you were giving that lovely introduction to Iron Jaw into FPRL, but as his teammate sets the fastest time, Willie Bum falling victim then to that left-hander where if you just take too much of the curb, I have no idea what corner number it is. But if you take too much of the curb there, I know that can very easily happen. You either run wide or you do what Willie Bum's done there and into the wall and out of qualifying early on. I was just about to say, actually, I was kind of tipping Willie Bum to put in a good performance today, shown some pace recently. I feel like this track would have suited his strengths, but yeah, it's not gone well. And he will start, as it stands, no higher than 18th, of course, depending on what Skivvy Midfield Maestro do in terms of time at the moment then. So we only will lose 4 more drivers then in the opening part of qualifying. And as I mentioned, his teammate Maxi then with a 1:16.666. Ooh. Ooh, and he's pushing as well on this lap as it stands. He's got 5 seconds now, so I think he's lost a bit of time in the second sector there. Nigel Piggle, though, beats that time from Maxi to set a 1:16.0. Big gaps then in the field as Hobnob goes third with a 1:16.9. As I said, TJ, quite a spread field at the moment. What kind of time are we looking at in this Tier 3 to be, a fast time?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not quite sure. I have been keeping a close eye on the time trial times, and I think some of these drivers have dropped into the 1:14s. Obviously, it's very rare you see drivers setting their time trial times. So I imagine Nigel's a fantastic lap, but I imagine we'll see maybe low 15s.
I think one driver who we might see get to that prediction, TJ, is currently on a fast lap with Haas getting out of the way just ahead of him, coming up then to the chicane, and a massive step out from the back there. Controlled it well, they would have lost a bit of time through that part of the track. It's a short circuit, see, with 19 cars left in the session. There will be a bit of traffic, and he has got a McLaren ahead of him on an outlap. It's I'm not good at the moment. Swilzer doing what Swilzer does, retiring early on in qualifying. Let's see how much that misstep from Adrian cost him in terms of lap time. Oh, and he very nearly got straight on the power and instantly slid into the back of the McLaren that was trying to get out of the way there, but he does cross the line, and it is into the 1:15s, despite the shoddiness there, you would say, of those last couple of sectors, managing to pit Nigel Piggle then to the provisional fastest time in this session.
Yeah, I caught the back end of that with his very, very near miss with, I think it was I'm Not Good that was there. Obviously, Adrian's had a bit of misfortune, we'll say, in the past couple of races with the rain coming. And he's been doing really good in the drive. As soon as the wet comes, he struggles. But given how the track looks and the weather looks, it looks like we'll actually see Adrian show his true potential today.
Yeah, he does need some point scoring finishes. Currently 70 points off the summit of the championship coming into the second half of the season now, of course, round 11 of 20 this evening. Only on 59 points, currently 6th place in the championship as it stands. Tadas, who we saw put in a good performance last week in France, initially anyway, unable to show his true pace there with a 1:17.8. I think the big talking point for most of these races, TJ, has been the fight in the constructors. It seemed like it was always going to be McLaren versus Alfa Romeo, but I mean, I hate to say it's now with Williams out of the session, but Williams were getting into a position to take over that second place and take over as the main challengers in the championship. How much will that hurt Williams starting at the back today in terms of overtaking opportunities and coming back through the field?
It's going to hurt him really bad. The Hungarian is very famous for its lack of overtaking. It is a very narrow circuit for the track itself, and very technical. There is only really 2 overtaking zones, which is the first main straight, and then as you come round turns 1, well, basically turn 1 against the second DRS, they're your main overtaking spots, really. Just starting at the back for his pace has been showing recently anyway, it'll really hurt him.
Counting on a little bit of safety car drama, I imagine, to try and get back into the points by the end of the race. One driver I don't think that was here last week in France, Soprano legend. Nice to see him back racing once again. 13th at the moment, yet to get a representative time. If we know he's a quick driver, TJ. Just to say that he validates and very nearly loses the back end of the car there. Seems to be struggling with track limits. Track limits around here, I mean, are they something that we're going to see drivers struggling with? Because if you look at the field at the moment, I mean, there's still 7 drivers. I mean, exclude Willy Bum, who put it into the wall. 6 drivers who have been unable to get a time in at the moment.
Yeah, I think track limits are hard around here. I mean, you've got I think Sector 1 is probably the easiest sector to all of it for track limits. But then you've got Sector 2 as you basically enter Sector 2 and you've got the fast left-hander. You go wide there and potentially get track limits there, and pretty much through the entire Sector 2, for how technically it is, you drop a wheel a bit too much over the curb, and we know how strict track limits are for Codemasters. So you do get penalised pretty easily around here.
Yeah, I hate those kind of circuits where it's just so unrealistic in terms of the track limits. As David Lawface very nearly found out, but very cleverly let off the throttle there to avoid that in the validation. As we were talking there, TJ, we saw Snedden rise to the challenge and put in a 15.4, then to go half a second quicker than Adrian in second place at the moment. But we know that Adrian has got pace in that AlphaTauri. As David Lawface comes off the final corner, crosses the line. So 1:17.6 then. It's probably a good point, TJ, to talk about what we think the cut-off's going to be into Q2. You've had some, I think you're about 50-50 with your predictions so far. Let's see if we can try and make it 60-40 or somewhere near that kind of ratio. What kind of time do you think we're going to need to get into Q2 today?
I mean, it's obviously, I think it's a tough one around here because as you can see, we've still got 3 drivers haven't set times. And then we've got 2 drivers in the 18s still, so they're obviously struggling on this track. I think, truthfully, we are probably looking about the 17.6 mark, so probably David Lawface territory.
Yeah, David Lawface will obviously think about going again based on what we kind of think there. I don't think you're too far out with that prediction, TJ. The likes of Mongo and Locker will definitely be looking to go again, and Locker now is about to come over the line, and it's a 1:17.2 from the McLaren then to get into the top 10, and we expect safely through to the second part of qualifying. Yeah,
so I'm just looking at the Twitch chat, and nice to see the drivers here. Espinio has got his fan club, these loyal fans again, which is fantastic to see. But Fishsticks has noticed something I've noticed, that I'm not good as literally just driving around the track, and I think he is decent. He does keep coming into the pits and leaving straight away. He is back in the pit lane now, but if he is listening, he probably does need to leave and rejoin to see if we can fix that before the race starts.
Oh, the surprise winner in Austria a couple of races ago, having technical difficulties then early on in qualifying. I'm sure he will look to get them rectified. If the lobby's on lock, of course, CJ will need to get an invite out to him once he decides to leave and rejoin the session. As we watch Mongo for Red Bull come over the line, so 1:17.2 from him then. As a Red Bull driver myself in Tier 2, I know that second seat next to Mongo has been rotated a few times this season. It does seem like Mongo's found a teammate on this occasion in Hobnob. 6th at the moment, 1:16.9. He's not been blistering in terms of pace, but he's definitely managed to outperform his teammate in the majority of races that he's taken part in so far.
Yeah, definitely. I have noticed Hobnob he has, as you mentioned, he hasn't really shown fantastic pace to challenge like the Snell and Adrian and Nigel, but I do think he's at the front end of the middle pack. And yeah, as you rightly say, he has been out qualifying Mongo recently. So we are seeing a bit of a Sned and Tadas relationship between them.
Yep, good comparison there really, as we've seen if Tadas can kind of rise to the challenge of his teammate's pace, but he's nearly 2 seconds adrift at the moment, down in 12th place and on the bubble potentially. One driver who is definitely on the bubble is Swilzer, who retired early on and will take no further part in this session. Currently 15th at the moment. We're seeing drivers improve up and down the grid. David Lawface improving by 0.2 just. And does that mean that track evolution, does that play a part, TJ, as we go along? I know some tracks is not quite as prevalent, but in these conditions, are the drivers just able to naturally find more pace?
Yeah, I think so. I think what's interesting there as well, that David Lawface has gone 2 quicker, but he's on 3 old laps off tyres. So that suggests tyre wear isn't extremely high around here. So that's good to see that the drivers can continue push on the same sets. So maybe it's on tracks where the more wear you have on the tyre, the quicker, the more speed you get out of them as well, which sounds really strange to say.
Yep. They are finding pace after multiple push laps, of course, helped by the short lap distance. Iron Jaw crosses the line. An unrepresentative time, but having it seems, as you were kind of saying there, TJ, he's took a second lap there to warm up those tyres, and now he's going on his push lap. Soprano Legend is a 10th up through the first sector. We know he's got pace to improve on that time. It's whether he can keep his nerve through the second part of the lap. It's so easy, as we've mentioned, to run wide and invalidate, but he's keeping it clean at the moment, but has he kept it fast? In fact, he's slower than his delta suggests at the moment. Currently cut adrift, really down in 18th place. He's 7/10 off the back of Iron Jaw in 17th. See what kind of final sector he can have. Coming around the final corner now, keeping it clean once again. Perhaps the fear of invalidation slowing him down, but crosses the line. And what a final sector to improve then. Must have had a really poor final sector previously. 7th place for Soprano Legend, and surely through into the second part of qualifying, as we'd expect from him really, TJ, and perhaps showing that he has got the pace in to fight with that kind of midfield, upper midfield pack that we spoke about.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm glad to see that he's managed to set that sort of time and, you know, got himself in that midfield pack. You know, I think it's over the past couple of races, to be honest, that we noticed that, you know, we have got a couple of drivers here that are showing a really good pace, and it's really pushing the pack from behind the top four really close, and you can't really predict who will finish ahead of who currently.
No, but Tadas does put Swilzer into the bottom 5 then with a 1:17.1, puts him into 9th place, splitting the two Mercedes, and will be through into the second part of qualifying. Then the 3 drivers, well, I say now 2 drivers really, that can do something about their position and continuation in this session. OMT T-Jerk and I'm Not Good, who he thinks managed to get back into the session. Can't see how long's left. Oh, he's not going to make the line.
Oh,
It's a 1:17.3. It's not enough. It's not enough. And he is out then. So it's down to T-Jerk now, who is very slightly up through the first sector. It's a short first sector there, so it's all really about sector 2 and 3.
Yeah, as he goes through the technical, takes a nice little curve there. It's really nice. But this is the sector where, you know, as I mentioned, you can really lose if you push it. He's still keeping it nice and clean. Bit of a fast left, right hand veer. Still no track limits, and he's 7/10 up. So given that time, I mean, he's flying into Q2 here. Assuming he keeps it nice and clean for these last couple of corners. As he takes the last corner around, keeps it nice and clean still. Hits the accelerator, puts the ERS on, and set to 1:16.7. That's a fantastic lap from TJ, that is.
Brilliant lap under pressure, as you mentioned there, TJ, by T-Jerk. Under pressure improves by a massive, I think around a second he improved by in the end there. Great lap from the Alpine driver, and perhaps just backing up our theory that the track really started to come to the drivers. But one of the drivers who will be disappointed with that lap from T-Jerk is David Lowface, who gets pushed into the bottom 5. Has shown some decent qualifying pace really to be in at least Q2 in really majority of races, but unfortunately finds himself in the bottom 5 then, along with I'm Not Good, who had those connectivity issues earlier on and was unable to get ahead of Skivit in the end. He was the driver in 15th to get himself into Q2. Swilzer, who we saw retire early on, as we know he likes to do in qualifying, just doing the opening run, saving those tyres for the race. And Iron Jaw on his debut then, setting the slowest time of all the 19 drivers to put a time on the board. But it was Willy Bum who crashed early on in qualifying, start at the back. of the grid. Of course, it's dependent on in-game penalties that might be applied further on into qualifying, but it was Sneddon, the fastest driver in Q1. Adrian managed to get the deficit down slightly, just 2.5 tenths nearly, back in second place. And Nigel Piggle unable to get anywhere near the two drivers he's been fighting with the majority of this season. Half a second drift back from his holidays, and clearly a little bit rusty behind the wheel at the moment. Is there anyone there that you can see, TJ, that's got through to the second part of qualifying that you think might not have expected to quite make it through, or that's kind of surprised you in where they've finished up in the session?
I mean, this is no disrespect to him, but T-Jerk, I mean, we have spoke about him that, he was tier 1 and showed some true pace towards the end of last season, but he hasn't really shown it that pace through this season so far. But take nothing away from him, that the lap he set under pressure then was fantastic, and, it'll definitely give him a lot of confidence going forward into the next qualifying sessions.
Definitely, and we'll see if he can make the final part of qualifying very shortly, when whoever's holding up the lobby decides to allow the lobby to progress into the second part of qualifying. It's always a great chance to visit our lovely viewers in the Twitch chat at this part. I'm not good saying he thinks it's him holding everyone up. The internet apparently has gone again. Adrian, I think, confirming that. There we go. And he's left the session. There we go. Silverside Boy says, sorry guys, I'm late. You will be. We expect you at 8 o'clock on the dot. Better have had a good excuse to join us at 25 past. Adrian says, Sneddon is such a fraud. Well, I'm not sure about that. I think many people would agree that you were perhaps the biggest fraud until you were unable to match his pace. Leon Brusby says, Soprano here, bit of a poor Q1 from me, had to use an extra set of tyres to get through. That's the information we want to see from drivers. So we know now he had to use an extra set of the sub, will be disadvantaged then in this part of qualifying, and indeed the race, of course. As you said, Espenio's fan club turning up once again to cheer on their boy on Wednesdays. I don't think we've got the pronunciation right still, TJ, but we'll go with what we said. We'll go with what we're going with. Silverside Boy's excuse for not joining us at 8 o'clock was apparently he was watching Moon Knight.
That's a poor excuse in my book.
I won't explain to the viewers what Moon Knight is unless Disney want to sponsor us to promote their shows to the whopping amount of FBRL viewers that we have. Of course, I'm not good. Says, alright, nice and calm for the race. Nearly snapped my wheel off and put a few holes in a table.
Yeah, I think you need to just take 5 minutes out, chill, and relax, breathe, and come back with a clear head.
Yeah, use the rest of qualifying to fix that shoddy connection of yours, and hopefully we'll have a nice clean race from all the drivers in the field. And WRL Lemming is joining us and says, how's everyone doing? We are absolutely brilliant, as always, on Wednesday evenings. And looking forward, hopefully, to a good rest of the qualifying and a good race as well then. And let's have a look. I was going to say, TJ, I don't think about to mention the tyres.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to mention the tyres. I was going to say that obviously the one big, I'm going to say big name we're missing from the Twitch track currently is Missy Locker. Locker's better half, who hasn't made the appearance yet.
Yeah. Is she here? No, she's not. She's not joined us. Wow. Oh, that's Patty Ken nearly joined the 5 drivers from Q1 out of qualifying. Good save from him there, though, avoiding to do a carbon copy of Willy Bum's crash, and continues on his way. I think a lot of the drivers can see that I've got the tyre selection up As we've got Snedden choosing intermediates, Adrian choosing wets in the pit lane. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of discussing that any longer. As Paddy Kim then rounds the final sector. What I was going to say, TJ, is you can see a lot of the drivers have selected the medium tyres when Snedden makes his mind up. Is that really the tyre to start on? Because clearly everyone else seems to think so.
Yeah, I think so. Once again, I've spoke to a few drivers outside in different tiers, and a lot of them are saying to really avoid the softs. But given what we saw in Q1, I don't see why people would avoid the softs. But I think this is a regular occurrence in Q2 where we see a lot of drivers set times on mediums and then sort of, I feel like, I'm going to say bottle it, but it's not bottling it. They lose the nerve and come back out to a set of softs.
Yeah, we can obviously see later on whether that happens towards the end of this session. And TJ, just as we mentioned it, guess who's joined us in the Twitch chat? As always.
Is it the one and only Mrs. Locker?
It's the one and only Mrs. Locker. Wishing, well, I don't know if wishing, but questioning whether poor half has dropped it yet. No. He's alive and well. He's still in the pits though. Not choosing to come out just yet to give us any action. The field seems pretty slit, really, in terms of flying laps. Only one driver at the moment really on a lap, unless you think TJ drivers are able to get 2 push laps out of these medium tyres. What do you think? Do you think they'll just do the 1 lap and come in, or do you think they'll try and carry on to do a few?
I mean, this is purely based on what we saw in Q1. I think the drivers will try and do 2 push laps. The soft tyres seem to hang on in Q1 for definite. So I can't see why they won't try do a second lap on the mediums in Q2. But once again, it comes down to how much tyre wear they want to take out of these tyres if they do start on.
Yeah. And Soprano Legend on a fresh set of medium tyres, very nearly dropping the back. I've seen so many drivers tonight really demonstrate some good reflexes in catching the car on multiple occasions. Soprano Legend, the latest driver to put those skills on display as he comes around the final corner. Shows some good pace in Q1. Can he be competitive in Q2? And it's a 1:17.7 then from the Aston Martin driver. Puts himself into 7th place out of the 10 that have done a lap so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at his million times now, and it's so close from midfield Meister till Valente. Pretty much just over a 10th covering them 5 drivers there. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if we see them drivers do put a set of softs on. I think they're probably safe on that time, I imagine, unless drivers below them start setting, do come in for set of softs and start setting some decent laps. It's so interesting to see what drivers think about in Q2, because it essentially sets your race off.
Does indeed, and the majority of the field choosing the medium tyres, but one driver that didn't was Adrian, who went fastest of all, even ahead of the soft tyre running Aspenio, a 1:16.3 from him, puts him about a 10th and a half ahead of second place Aspenio on those soft tyres. Snedden pops himself into 3rd place as well. 2 drivers yet to set a lap. One of those is about to come over the line, and FPRO Locker sets a lap only good enough for 10th. Unfortunately, a 1:17.5. He'll probably need to go again on that one. I was trying to compare Aspenio's lap in Q1 with his Q2 time. His Q2 time a big improvement on his Q1 lap. I'm just thinking in terms of tyre delta, TJ. As you mentioned, that big gap, really 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th even, all separated by just over a 10th. Does that pack of cars come into the pits to put the softs on? Valente certainly thinks so in the pit lane. do the rest of them follow suit?
I think they try and stick to the mediums if they can. You know, it always doesn't give the better start off the start line, but it gives you the better choice and strategy for the race. Unless there's an early safety car, which there always could be on a track like this, where they just want driver to slip off and the safety car that comes up potentially. But I imagine a lot of these drivers will want to start on that medium compound.
Well, I don't want to suggest anything here, of course. Tier 3's driving standards obviously being top tier, but Turn 1, with what we've seen kind of around here before in the league and in other leagues, I'm sure as people know from racing this track, Turn 1 can be a little bit tricky if you're in the mid-pack, and I think, do you think some of the drivers like Espenio think that they'd rather the higher position just because they want to try and profit under safety cars, or I don't know if it's going to play a massive part, obviously dependent on what happens into Turn 1, but I think there could be a few incidents, obviously depending on the weather, which we think it will be dry, not to be confirmed, of course.
Yeah, it's as you mentioned, Turn 1 after race start is very tricky. It is obviously a downhill braking zone, and if you know, it's not one you can really like brake on with the pack all bunched up. So all it takes is one person to miss where they're supposed to apply the brakes, and you've got a bit of a domino effect. Obviously, given how good the standards have been for Tier 3, I'd be very shocked to see it, but it's something that could happen, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and it's always difficult, of course, to overtake around this circuit, so I think there's a danger almost of a DRS train, isn't there? I mean, this is no obviously disrespect to the drivers like Espenio that are going to go on the soft tyres to try and get through, but they've clearly got, you know, less pace than some of the drivers that might just choose to stick it out on the mediums to get through. Is there a danger for those drivers if they could just get caught in a DRS train and the race just unfolds from there?
Yeah, you're right to say. You know, it is a tight track. It's very technical. It is unfortunate. Basically, given this generation of cars that they are racing, that you know, if it is a DRS train, you get stuck in that dirty air. It is hard to overtake. And yeah, it is just a case of I think the overtake opportunities will come into obviously the first DRS and second DRS zones. Other than that, it's going to be a case of if a driver makes a mistake, will you capitalise on it?
Yep, it really does come down to the skill of the drivers this circuit, I find, and we have seen drivers make mistakes in qualifying. They've held their nerve and they've kind of corrected what mistakes they've made, but they've definitely lost pace because of it. And in the race, of course, that'll be much more punishing, as a driver might sniff out an opportunity. But we've rode on board with Paniken throughout this lap, and one thing I have noticed is he stayed well off the curbs, which I imagine he thinks will be very unpredictable. He comes across the line. It's a 1:17.1. It does provisionally put him into the final part of qualifying, but I can't imagine with the drivers behind him that time will be enough to get him through. As it stands, one of the drivers I do expect to get ahead of him is Belente, who's going to come across the line now and does just that with a 1:16.1 then to push Mongo, who's still in the pit lane, down into 11th place. So with 3 minutes to go of this Q2 session, as it stands, we're going to lose Mongo, Soprano legend, FPRL Lucker, Skivit, who we know for sure will lose as he's retired in the pit lane, and this man at the moment, OMT T-Jerk.
Yeah, I mean, 9 retiring the pits on 17.1. I imagine when the drivers behind him were setting the times on the soft tyres that there's a chance we could lose him from Q2 here. You know, I do imagine that around that time with the soft tyre that was going to be what they aim for. Locke, Soprano, Mongo can all go faster. I imagine Paniken can go faster as well. So he is in P8 now, and he obviously won't start in the medium tyres, but out in Q2 and to risk running the mediums, that's a massive risk because he wants to challenge for the championship as well.
Panikin crosses line, 11th fastest. He will need, of course, another lap to get through, but he's on 2-lap old softs now. We saw TJ as TJ was talking there, goes second fastest with a 1:16 another brilliant lap from him, TJ, and that will surely see him through to Q3. Is there a chance he can get into the top 5 here in Q3 with the pace he's shown in the first 2 sessions?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know where it was paid from. I know that sounds really bad, but yeah, he's got potential to be up there in the top 5 quite easily. What he's shown so far. I did mention each Q1 the time with the confidence he needs, and he has continued that confidence through, and the track will only get faster into Q3 as well.
Soprano Legend puts Nigel Piggle on the cusp then, 1:17.1 from Nigel Piggle. 4 drivers that have got that target to try and beat, and we all know they're surely capable with the times they've put in of reaching that target. We could be seeing Nigel Piggle out in Q2. That's a rare sight in Tier 3, and really him and Midfield Maestro at the moment could both be out depending on what laps we see here from the bottom 4.
Yeah, I say so. Obviously, we know Talas can go quicker, as Nigel Piggle is out now. Hobnob's no, it wasn't Hobnob. Not quite sure. I think it was Mags who knocked him out then. But we know Talas can go quicker. Mongo can put a decent lap in. Panic's going back round again, so I do think we're going to lose Midfield Maestro as well.
Panican continuing on those 3-lap old softs. Surely doesn't want to start in the top 10 at this rate on those tyres. Tadas has invalidated then. So we'll start no higher than 12 as Panic End has, as you mentioned, dropped it in the same place where we lost Willibum in Q1 then. So the driver that's going to threaten Midfield Maestro's participation in Q3 is Mongo at the moment. Slightly down on his time through Sector 1. Can he find the pace in the last 2 sectors then to now get ahead of Midfield Maestro and dump him out of this session? Coming through the S's there, very clean, making sure not to run wide to avoid the risk of invalidation. Round the right-hander, doesn't quite get it close to the apex. He is 2/10 up, however. So last week's race winner on his debut, Midfield Maestro, could be joining Nigel Piggle in a shock Q2 elimination here. If Mongo can keep his nerve around the final corner then, how tight will he go to the pit wall? There's a Haas in the pit wall. Was it an Alfa Romeo, I think, actually? As Mongo comes across the line, it's not enough.
He lost so much time in the last few corners. He definitely had the pace coming out of Sector 2. So Midfield Maestro fights into Q3, but obviously the biggest shock, well, I'm going to say 2 big shocks there, is that we have lost Nigel and Tadas.
Well, as Mongo came around the final corner there, as I mentioned, I thought it was a Haas initially. I think it was actually an Alfa Romeo that was stuck in the pit wall. I'm trying to see which driver's missing the front wing. I think it's Snedden?
I mean, I think so. He did come into the pit. I'm not quite sure what he's
done. And Tadas both came at the same time, so I don't know who that was, but whoever it was, I think definitely put Mongo off there. And, well, I mean, look at the gap. It speaks for itself. About 16 thousandths and the difference between getting through to Q3. So disappointment then for Mongo, who just misses out. Even more disappointment for Nigel Piggle then, choosing not to do a run on the soft tyres. Will start 12th for the race later on. Tadas, as you mentioned, another shock, unable to get a soft tyre run in despite running the soft tyres. 13th on the mediums. Panic End, who we saw crash and skidded the early optional retiree, I'll say, out as well. And the fastest times, of course, don't know how representative these are, but Valente, T-Jerk and Maxi occupying the top 3, and then the first of the midfield runners. Well, so it's the medium runners, I should say, not midfield. Blimey, I think he wouldn't agree with me saying he was mid. I don't think anyone would agree with me saying Adrian is a midfield driver. But Adrian in 4th place then. Only 3/10 really, just short of 3/10 off Valente's time at the top of the standings, despite the tyre difference then. So TJ, that leads me on to my next point. Who do we think then? I'm going to do a top 3 this week. Sometimes I do a poll, pick for poll. I'm sure we'll get a poll for poll if David Lawface wants to run one of those. As he does each week. Poll for poll in the chat. But I'm going to ask you before the poll for poll comes up. TJ, pick your top 3 in any order.
I am gonna say Snedden, Adrian, and I'm gonna throw I'm gonna say Magsy. I was torn between Magsy and potentially TJ. I'm not quite sure TJ's got the chance to be on the top 3, but I don't think he'll be too far behind him. And obviously, Magsy is in the championship fight as well, so he won't be up there. So yeah, so I'm going for Adrian, Sned and Adrian, and Magsy.
Not a bad shout. I think the third one was always going to be up for debate there, but we do expect Adrian and Snedden, given the pace they've shown so far, to occupy the top 2 spots. I'd agree with you there. The poll for poll is live, so all 40 of you watching, get your votes in. We've got Adrian H2O currently leading the way with 5 votes. Snedden in second with 4 votes. We've got in the third place. We've got Nigel ... Oh wait, Aspenio. In third at the moment, and we've also got options out there for Midfield Maestro and Valente. We cannot write off Midfield Maestro, I don't think. He did show pace last week, so it'll be interesting to see if he can get the lap together here in this final part of qualifying then.
Just distracted in the Twitch chat by Wild Liam, who his top 3 are Aspinio, and Aspinio.
We can't call him Aspinio. That's not good luck. Go with Aspinio. I think it's gonna be Maxi who gives us our first lap then. Just about to come up to the final sector now, and we'll try and follow the times as they come over the line. Kept it clean so far. It's a little bit wide, very nearly loose at the back end, but corrects it, as we've seen from a couple of drivers tonight. Coming around the final sector now, then you have to be so careful of that inside curb there. If you catch it, it can put you into a spin. He's done well to avoid it. Now, how close to the pit wall does he want to get? Not as close as the Alfa Romeo in Q2. Comes across the line now to give us our first time. It's a 1:59. A very good time there from him. Adrian, I think, invalidated. FPL Locker starting his flying lap. So is it Aspinio who's coming round across the line? It is indeed. Aspinio 90. How close can you get to that target of a 1:59 and get to 1:59, but just slightly slower than Magsy to go P2 then. Midfield Maestro with an unrepresentative time. TJ not quite managing to find an improvement in time as the other drivers are. Valente is one of those drivers. 1:15.8, but Snedden with a 1:15.3, then half a second up on second place now. And Soprano Legend over the line again with an unrepresentative time from him, as Hobnob is going to give us the final run of the opening laps. It's a 1:17.6 on him. So TJ on those opening times, as we watch Adrian and Locker finish their flying laps. Massive difference between the times in Q2 and Q3 here.
Oh yeah, absolutely massive. I'm just gonna pick Snedden out here. Obviously, he's massively improved to get close to the low 15s, which we sort of predicted in Q1. But yeah, Valentin's come out of nowhere that time as well. Magsy, E-Jerk, we know he's obviously got pace still in there as well. But this is close midfield pack still.
Midfield Maestro then putting himself onto the provisional front row. A 1:15.8 from him, just Valente into second place. Then Adrian, interestingly enough, choosing to abandon his second run straight into the pit lane. Then Snedden's given it another go, it seems, looking to continue around for a second push lap then. And we'll see if he can improve on this original set of tyres. Whether he was trying to save a set for the race remains to be seen. Of course, he's dropped the back end off turn 1 there. Avoids the wall, but that will completely wreck his lap there. So he'll be into the pits then for a new set of tyres.
Adrian's saying that he could have set a 15.2 but invalidated it. Obviously,
that's all talk, that is.
I was going to say it's all talk.
It's all talk.
You need to set it on the track now, Adrian. Don't to say you can set it and then invalidate it. Come on, lad. Joe's what you got.
Yep. I set a 113 round the other day, but I am validated. So let's see what you've got in the FPRL locker then, Adrian. See if you can pull a 115.2 out in these final runs. He's on an outlap, he's coming, got a new set of tyres on, he's straight back out there. And he'll be listening to our voices now, TJ, if we can try and put him off in the best way possible. I think there's a cloud in the sky.
Yeah, I'm seeing that cloud as well. I mean, he'll love that there's a cloud in the sky. He loved the curse we gave him last week, and he'll love another curse this week. And no pressure, but you might need to get that lap set sooner rather than later, Adrian.
Adrian H2O, you know how much he loves the wet. Only driver out on track as it stands. And now about to start his flying lap. If I was a betting man, I'd bet he's going to do a willy bum into the left hand and stick it in the wall at the end of sector 1.
Imagine the scenes if he does that now.
What he's going to do? He's going to take too much curb here. He's going to take too much curb. Yeah, like, he's already got that corner wrong. Way too late on the braking here. This is the crunch one now. Up the hill here, he's going to do a willy bum. Take way too much curb here into the wall. Wow, he's played it safe. Boring. Boring.
He'll go too much over the curb in sector 2 and invalidate the time again. Watch this space.
We've got some cars coming back out onto the track. It's a Ferrari of Balente. Oh, he nearly does run wide there. Managed to keep it on track at the moment though. And it's looking quick from Adrian. Is it quick enough to challenge Snedden out in front? Oh, very, very close. Lights up. Left 2 tyres on his car, but keeps it out of the wall, looking to gain a bit of time by throwing it into the final corner. How much time did that cross him as he crosses the line? It's only enough for second. And I think, TJ, without that slight mistake there, that would have been provisional pole for Adrian. But that's what you get when you have 2 people on comms cursing you entire lap.
Yeah, he definitely will have got pole if it wasn't for that slight mistake there. I imagine he'll want to try to cool his tyres down now and perhaps push again.
Yeah, 3.5 minutes left on the clock, and it'll be asking a bit much of his pit crew to get him back round again on a fresh set of tyres. He might give it a go though, as midfield maestro then is going to get us underway for what is technically the second round of runs for these drivers that went earlier on. A couple of drivers out of sync with that, of course, with Adrian just setting his fastest time, and drivers doing well to get out of the way of midfield maestro. And as we are watching him complete sector 1, let's go back to the pole for pole, and it is Snedden, who isn't quite the clear winner, but he has got the majority of the votes, 42% over Adrian with 27%, and Espinio, his fan club, giving him 23% of the vote there then. So Espinio at the moment with a 1:15.9, he's going to have to find a bit of improvement in his lap time to challenge the top 3. As it stands, midfield maestro looking to improve on his 1:15.8. Crosses the sector 2, got 4 tenths up at the moment, so this might be enough if he improves the final sector to challenge the front row here from midfield maestro. 2 minutes left on the clock. He'll be hard stretch to put a better time in than this. You have to go on the same set of tyres. Coming around the final corner, keeps it out of the pit wall, comes across the line, and it's a 1:15.2.
Yeah, that's a fantastic lap from Mayfield Maestro there. He did mention he's got the pace, and I didn't really give him a chance for top 3, but that's going to take some beating now.
Is indeed. Great lap from him. Balente is also 4 tenths up at the moment. Can he get anywhere near Adrian's time in third at the moment? Crosses the line and must have had a horrendous final sector, backing off to set another time. Then TJ now coming across the line, and he's invalidated the next lap somehow. He must have ran wide off the final corner, and he's going to take another slow lap then and try and get a fast lap in right at the end. Soprano Legend 6 tenths up at the moment, currently 10th of the 10 drivers who have set a time, but this might be enough to put him ahead of Hobnob in 8th place if he has a good final sector here. Cross the line, it's good enough for 7th actually. Monstrous final sector from Soprano Legend to put himself 7th. Fastest then. TJ, there's quite a big gaggle of cars in sector 2 I can see on my track map there that seem to be causing each other a bit of a problem on their fast laps.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happened there. I think they're a bit distinct from each other. I think a couple of them are set of fast laps already, but a couple of them are pulling tyres down for another push lap. So I think that's what caused a bit of traffic there. But I can't imagine being sat behind these drivers is going to be good for the dirty air.
Side of that, Pat Maxi goes third fastest with a 1:15.3. He'll be happy with that to put himself provisionally into third place. And Adrian starts his final flying lap of the session. I think TJ will be the final driver over the line. Then yes, just about gets his time on the board. Then Snedden is going for another run as well. He's also just made the line. Then 4 seconds left on the clock, so it will be Snedden then with the final lap in. He has got the majority of the votes amongst the viewers, and can he repay that faith by delivering a time which will take him ahead of midfield Maestro on to pole position. These gaggle of cars seems to have stretched down a little bit here, but there is still a big gap in Q3 the times here, TJ.
Yeah, there is. I think that just shows how the drivers find this track difficult. It is a technical track, as we've discussed. So this is probably just being off track for some of these drivers. As the board of Adrian is coming on the final corners now, he was slightly up on his time, but it isn't enough for him to get pole, so he needs a fantastic sector and takes the last corner perfectly, doesn't make a mistake, so we'll see if he's made any time up now as he crosses the line in a minute, puts himself on pole.
Brilliant final sector then from Adrian to take provisional pole position, but the driver probably most likely to challenge that this evening will be Snedden, who just misses out then. 8/1000ths of a second, unable to challenge Adrian in the end, who we thought had the pace to go, well, definitely on the front row, but it was always going to be tight between him and Snedden, the championship leader. But it is going to be then Adrian and Snedden in that order on the front row into turn 1, and I for one cannot wait.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. As some of the viewers might not see, but we're going to say a bromance between these two, but that bromance will mean nothing coming to turn 1.
Yep, and there is the entire classification for Q3 then. Adrian, as we mentioned, on pole position by 8/1000ths of a second over Snedden. The top 3 really bunched up close together. Midfield Maestro third for Mercedes. He was in the pole for pole, but he wasn't TJ's pick for third place in the end. But one of TJ's picks, Magsy, in 4th place, 2 tenths off the pace of Adrian, but he'll be happy with that lap and a big half a second gap back to the bottom 6 then. Balente, Aspenio, Hobnob, Soprano Legend, T-Jerk and Locker, who I think was unable to get the most out of the car there in that session. I think he had a bit more time behind the wheel of that McLaren then. Hopefully, if everyone's listening, nobody readies up, of course. It's the worst thing you can do. Everyone needs to take a leak, including the commentary team.
Aye, that's very true.
It does look a bit overcast though, TJ.
Oh
As they press
no.
the button, of course they have. Let's see if we can
Oh.
catch them out. I'm going to quickly run to the toilet. I'll be back in just a moment.
Yeah, so hopefully we might catch the others very up early. I mean, if it isn't our guys, just read the rule book. So hopefully the drivers have had time to set the strategies. If not, very sorry that you haven't been able to. Hopefully we'll catch the culprit. As we start the formation lap, obviously I'll get the tyres up to see what people are running. Unfortunately, we're able to see it on the stream currently, but I'll try my best to run through everything that's going on. So in P20, we got Willie Bum on the mediums. P19 in his debut race, we got Iron Jaw on the mediums. P18, we've got Swilzer, who's running the hard tyre. P17, we got I'm Not Good on the medium tyres. P16, we got David Blollface, who's decided to go on the hard tyre as well. P15, we got Skivid in the mediums. P14, Panic End on mediums. P13, Tadas on mediums. P12, we've got Nigel Piggle, who's decided to go on the hard tyre choice, so he's looking to go long here. P11, we've got Mongo on the mediums. And our top 10 for this evening is, and all these are on soft tyres until top 3. We got P10, we got FPLL Locker, P9, who's had a fantastic quality, and hopefully we can see his pace continue into the race as well, is T-Jerk. P8, we got Soprano Legends. P7, we got Hobnob. P6, we got Espinio. P5, we got Valente. P4, we got Magsy. And our top 3 for this evening, all going through on the medium tyres, is P3, we've got Midfield Maestro. P2, our championship leader, Snedden. And P1, we got A-Drain.
A-Drain. H2O, not HO3. Thanks for that, CJ, of course. And yeah, interesting look at the tyres then. So from 4th place down to 10th, all on the soft. 7 drivers then having to take the punishment of starting on the soft tyres. 3 drivers going for the hards. One of those, Nigel Piggle, of all people, in 12th place. And so the complete opposite strategy to the drivers who really he would want to be competing with, as they're all going to come round and line up then in their grid positions. Terrible camera angle of the back of the pack here, but it's nice to see the rear end of everyone's car. And everyone, of course. So, great views here. Then it does look cloudy. Interesting to see if we are going to see any rain in later on into the race. TJ, I'll let you do the 5 lights for a change.
Yeah, and we got the 5 lights, and away they go, and the camera angle's poor here, so I can't see who's got a good or bad start. Hobnob is out, and I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but there's 2 or 3 cars round. But as we go back to the front for the moment, Snellen's had a nightmare into turn 1. TJ, virtual safety cars can say everyone looked like they slowed down then, but T-Jerk into P3. He's had a fantastic start. I think he started P9, is it? As we try to get that up.
Yeah, up 6 places and into P3. We saw the couple of drivers off the line getting tangled and into one another. Soprano Legend, Hobnob and Skivid have come off worse from that. I think Skivid's got no front wing, I think, if I saw correctly. Or he's got a bit of it missing, at least. Oh no, he seems to be okay. Might have got away with that one. He definitely got caught up in the tangle though. But it was Hobnob who retired early on then from 7th place. He'll be disappointed. No full safety car as things stand. Just a full track yellow. I don't think there's a virtual safety car anymore either, as Adrian seems to have got us away. And there we are with green once again then. And as you said, Snedden with a horrible start then. Down 2 off the line.
Yeah, he must have just got a slow start. Perhaps got his tyres formed up enough or something, but I mean, take nothing away from T-Shirt there. I mean, he's had a blistering start, and obviously benefited from that early virtual safety car. Nigel Piggle as well made up 5 places on at starts and his panic ends. David Lawface, Ironjaw as well, they made some really good places up. But it'd be interesting to happen from the start there. I mean, it looked terrible as Mayfield Maestro was taking the lead of the race.
It's not quite a done deal just yet, but Adrian looks like he is going to give up the place then. And Midfield Maestro, as you said, yeah, into the lead of the race early on then. Up 2 from his 3rd place on the grid. And now, can he break that crucial 1 second gap back to Adrian before we get the DRS?
Yeah, as Ironjaw is at the moment and dropped back down to last place. I'm not quite sure what happened there. But he's got no front wing, so he must have had a spin, which is a shame in his debut. Hopefully he can get back into the race at some point. But the pack is spreading out really quickly.
Yeah, there is pockets of action throughout the field at the moment though, but the top 5 breaking away then from Belente and Co from 6th downwards, it seems, as it stands. Unless Belente can find some pace and close up to the back of Maxi, they might find themselves separated from the top 5 as the fastest laps coming through thick and fast. And of course it is the drivers on the soft tyres taking the accolade in the opening stage, as Tadas then puts in a great time, 1:19.8 in the opening stage of this race, down in 13th place, unable to make up any places off the line. But as you mentioned, T-Jerk at the moment running up in 3rd place. He did show great pace in qualifying and he's really profited here and got himself up into the top 3. Yeah,
I mean, Snedden really can just want to get past T-Jerk as quick as possible, because all he's doing currently is holding up, which is obviously ruining his race a little bit this early anyway. He won't be closer to certain stage in the midfield Maestro and challenging them boys instead of fighting behind T-Jerk. But T-Jerk is doing a fantastic job of defending that P3 currently.
Yeah, and of course T-Jerk on the different tyres to Snedden at the moment, soft tyres for the Alpine. And as you mentioned, Snedden will really want to dispatch of this Alpine quickly and continue chasing the leading 2 now. T-Jerk in danger of dropping that valuable 1 second back then. Of course, there is of course the 2 DRS zones. If the 1 activation point, one of the moves being done down into turn 3, but it is Adrian who gets it done at turn 1 then. Back ahead of Midfield Maestro with the DRS. And how powerful is the DRS into that turn 1 braking zone, TJ? Is that where we're going to see most of the action today?
Yeah, I imagine so. The DRS is obviously short and just gives you that little bit of boost to perhaps you have a poor corner to regain it, but yeah, that DRS zone 1 is the powerful one, and that's where I expect the most move done.
T-Jerk does indeed drop out of DRS then from Midfield Maestro. Surely Snedden can keep up and close with the Alpine at the moment. T-Jerk using all of his ERS as well at the moment to keep ahead of the Alfa Romeo, but we did expect the medium tired runners to fare better in the opening stage of this race, and it does seem that the medium tired runners do have that pace at the moment. Yellow flag out in sector 2. There's a Mercedes the wrong way. It's bad news for the fan club in the chat. It's your boy Espenio, no front wing, and and resetting to track for good measure.
Oh, what that's poor timing, that is. Sorry.
Oh dear. Oh dear, Espenio.
I mean,
backwards on the track with no front wing, resetting to it for good measure. It's not been a good couple of seconds there for Espenio, but he's down in 17th now and will need to come in for repairs then, as Seddon has got ahead of T-Jerk in all of that Espenio madness, and he's up into 3rd place then, 1.2 seconds off Midfield Maestro. What he really wants here is the front 2 to have a fight amongst themselves so we can catch obviously and get back into that DRS zone.
Yeah, definitely, and they are battling each other, so it is going to happen, as we have got blue flags out, which I believe for who are the blue flags for out, actually? I'm not quite sure.
I think it should be Skivid, who's right at the back.
Ah, yeah, okay, yeah. He is right in the middle of everything. holding up the lock, and now by the looks like he's just got past him. Bit of a terrible start for Skivered there. Hopefully you get to the car to reset and refocus, but there isn't many battles up and down the track. Valente's in the back of Magsy. Willie Bone as well, he's close and back of Swilzer, but there isn't many battles on track currently.
Yeah, we did expect the action to be, well, especially in terms of overtakes, few and far between. And it looks like we might be going down the road we expected. Willie Bum, though, has made up a handful of places off the line and is going to look to make up another one on the house of Swilzer into turn 1. Swilzer able to defend mightily there, but with only 20% ERS at his disposal, using all of it to stay ahead of the Williams, who might get a bit of a better run in the second DRS zone, and chooses not to throw it up the inside there. Willie Bum playing it cautious at the moment. He knows he has to get ahead of Swilzer as soon as possible, though, because he is on the hard tyres, and of course ruining his really the comeback that he wanted to go on here to get some points.
Yeah, definitely, but it's like we talked about in qualifying, that it is a very hard track to turn the overtakes on, as we haven't got a yellow flag in sector 2, but looks like it was just perhaps the driver going a bit wide and coming back onto track. But yeah, this track is really hard on overtaking, and it is lack of, and it is a case of you get a bit of exit off the final corner and use that DRS to its advantage.
Well, Seddon trying to be tactical here in his overtake on midfield Maestro, as we've got our first driver into the pits. It is Belente, and Seddon will look to go around the outside then of midfield Maestro, as Iron Jordan seems to have dropped it in sector 1, and we have got a safety car then on lap 7 here. Iron Jordan out of the Hungarian Grand Prix, disappointing for him. He's not really had a great evening in terms of qualifying nor the race, and he's dropped it in a very strange position there. It was kind of on the straight leading up to this left-hander. I'm not too sure how he's managed to do that, but Snedden crucially got the pass done on midfield Maestro just before the safety car came out.
Yeah, that was obviously a couple of seconds later, left behind in that position back. But this just resets the pack now, pulls them a bit closer together. Maybe we'll see Magsy and T-Jerk come in to get their soft tyres, maybe put the hards on to end. I'm not sure if they'll make it to end or not. I don't know what tyre wear's like, but maybe they are considering that move. But yeah, just pulls the pack back together, pulls the top 3 back together crucially as well. And yeah, hopefully we get a bit more closer battles on track with the pack being reset.
Yeah, Espinio back into the pits for another set of tyres then.
Midfield Maestro's come in. So keep on board.
And Adrian too.
Oh, yeah.
So Adrian 2 into the pits then, and continues on the medium tyres. Adrian going for the hards and surely looking to run those till the end, if possible. There'll be about 25 laps or so once the safety car does come in. He was held in his pit box for a while there, Adrian. It'd be interesting to see if he's lost out. One driver I think may have lost out is Belente, who pitted right before the safety car came out, and he has indeed lost out slightly there to Magsy and T-Jerk. He will pull back up behind the 2 of them, but does just about get away with it then. But yeah, the top 4 all not pitting then. Interesting from Snedden not to come into the pits if he kind of knew that Adrian was going to there.
Yeah, I mean, unless he's thinking he's got to play the opposite strategy, maybe he's got more tyre life from the mediums, or maybe he's trying to pull the card of push on mediums as far to the end as he can, and perhaps do put the softs on towards the end and gain time that way. But it is going to make this race a bit more interesting now on strategy-wise.
Yeah, maybe Snedden might need a safety car then to get his strategy back on track. The hard tyre runners weren't having a terrible time of it in the opening stint. Nigel Piggle, one of those hard tyre runners, up into 2nd place now from 12th off the line. Tadas Panic End joining him in making up 10 places off the line. Safety car will go around for another lap, and taking us on to lap 9. So getting some more racing action, hopefully, on 10. Great time, of course, behind the safety car to go to our lovely Twitch chat and our viewers, of which there are 40 of them once again. And what have we got then? Interesting stuff. Wildly, I'm saying it's chaos, is indeed. Oh, I think that was the opening lap, I'm assuming. Your boy Espinio not having the best of time at the minute, but the safety car might help him out. So he is lapped down in 17th. I won't endorse him to unlap himself. I know it has been done before. 7th place. I'm not going to say do it all, as Snedden seems to have hit the back of the safety car there. Thankfully the safety car ghosted. Otherwise Burt Mylander was going to get a bit of whiplash from an Alfa Romeo going into the back of him there. Yeah, I know. I've been able to unlap myself behind the safety car. The problem is there's just no real way to orchestrate it. In an online lobby. Unfortunately for him, there's no real way to kind of tell everyone to pull over to let Espinio through. Unless all the drivers ahead of him have got the streamer.
I mean, hopefully it's something to sort out in the next game, which, as quickly before the safety car restarts, we should hopefully make F1 2020, F1 22 tomorrow, 4 PM. Everyone's interested?
Yeah. I don't think we should endorse EA, TJ, money grabbers, loot box merchants, can't build a good game. Don't pay us to promote their future games, but yeah, of course, the announcement at 4 PM tomorrow for the next games. As Snedden is going to get us away under safety car, but everyone should be wary of a Snedden safety car restart. After the last couple, he gets away pretty cleanly this time, pretty early as well. Perhaps he's changed his style slightly to catch those off guard. Panic End looks like he was going to get a good run onto Nigel Pickle into turn 1. Panic End eventually settling for just getting ahead of Tadas, it would seem. Filters in behind Nigel Pickle then. Filters away on these medium tyres then, TJ. Doesn't allow as much in terms of movement throughout the pack either there off the restart. How long can Snedden take these medium tyres now?
I don't know. I don't know what tyre wear's like around here. I don't know, mate. I imagine he'd like to try and put it till do the softs to the end. So maybe lap anything between 20 and 25, maybe. But is that too much for these tyres?
Well, if he's going to try and, well, I don't imagine he could do a medium to softs. I imagine it would have to be medium to hard. It'd be very difficult to run these soft tyres for that amount of time. Is Tadas looking to make his medium tyres work now behind Panic End? So we can see at the moment the drivers who have made a pit stop. If I can find the button I need to find, there we go. So it is Adrian really at the moment in 5th place who's really come out of that one better off. Midfield Maestro, who was riding with the top 3 of course, down in 14th now. 8.5 seconds off the lead already after 1 lap of course. And Adrian now looking to try and get past Snedden's teammate. And what can his teammate do here to help Snedden out apart from do the obvious in holding up Adrian?
I mean, that's the thing you can do is just sit there, be a blocker for Adrian, keeping the DRS of Panic End. It's not a little bit of extra boost as well. He has a bit of a snap and to keep it on track again. And DRS and trying to hold him up as much as he can, but obviously Adrian's on the freshest pace, but we're doing a hard take a few laps to come up into prime. And we'll just see how that plays out and if that helps him out at all.
Yeah, DRS enabled as they go on to the second lap after the safety car then. And Adrian will not have the DRS on this occasion. The activation point is there is only one, and he will not get it down into turn 3 either, as of course it is before the start of this third lap after the safety car then. So Seddon has got the gap up to 2.7 seconds now to Nigel Piggle in second place. Oh, was a big crash then for I'm Not Good. Big crash. And I wonder if we're going to see another safety car there. Drivers just avoiding him. I think someone collected him. Is it TJ?
Yeah, the TJ. I'm not sure what TJ was doing, but he tried to make a move on swirls when the door wasn't open and just hit the side of him.
Big shame for TJ, of course. It was running a great race, great qualifying really up to that point. And now with front wing damage, we'll have to come into the pits. It doesn't look like, crucially, we're going to get another full safety car as there's a McLaren lying in the middle of the track. That's 3 drivers we've seen in the wall now, and doing a, well, that must be how I and Joel managed it then. Very wide off the final corner into the wall and spun back out onto the track a little further down the road then. Still under a virtual safety car, which does crucially mean for the drivers within a second of one another. So for Tadas and Adrian up in the top 5, they will get the DRS. Of course, it doesn't reset, and they will be able to continue pushing in once this virtual safety car comes away. I've never been a fan of these virtual safety cars at TJ, especially on the game. I just find that the Delta can really catch some people out, but everyone looks like they've got away with it this time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real shame. As on board with TJ, and yeah, obviously in your front wing, and he'll be sat there wondering what went wrong, and hopefully just keep his head down. And another safety car comes out, and another issue in sector 2. Is it Mongo that spawn? Yes, looks like it's got front wing intact luckily, but we've seen a lot of drivers drop it round in that little bit there just before sector 2. It's like end of sector 1, beginning of sector 2 there. That seems to be the main section where drivers are struggling and dropping it. As we've had another accident
as well. Yeah, I think it's a Spenio. Oh no, it's not a Spenio. It is Mythod Maestro, I think. Getting tangled up with Mongo somehow.
Yeah, that's.
Not sure what's happened there.
I'm not sure what's happened there. I mean, that's a shame for Midfield Maestro. That's obviously he's back in the top 4 now. Obviously he'll be hoping for a safety car at some point again, but I think that's another accident that Swill has been caught up in there. I wonder if he's perhaps driver's judging his pace, or whether he's got some lagging issues or thinking of something. It seems strange that he's caught up in all these incidents.
Well, he's into the pits, doesn't need a new front wing. He's just gone onto the medium tyres there, Swilzer, and continues on his way. A little bit of desync in there from him, but doesn't seem to be too bad at the moment. It comes out just ahead of T-Jerk, who we saw in the wall earlier on. Yeah, as you mentioned, Midfield Maestro getting caught up in a fight then that really should not have been in. 23.5 seconds now off the lead of this race. And considering where he was early on, he'll be devastated to be that far back. What's going on through the field then? Not an awful lot, it would seem, but there is a David Lowface all over the back of an FPR or locker then, but he'll do well to get past him then. I think Swilzer's had another mishap. Halfway through sector 2.
Yeah, I've just been on board with him. I think the lobby settings have been as he spins it again. I think the lobby settings are set to ghost him. Only because I saw Mongo go flying through him. Which is obviously set to save Mongo, but I do believe they should be set to non-ghosting for this car.
Yeah. I'm currently watching a stricken horse here. Do some donuts for us. Of he's pulled very gentlemanly out of the way of Snedden, who's on his way through. Let's see if we can carry on nice and cleanly. And I think he might have just got the tyre temps under control, and we'll continue on then. As we did see Snedden get past him, there's another yellow flag out now.
I think
Davies
going wide. I'm not sure what's happened today. I think he might have front wing damage. I think him and Soprano Legend might have come together, but he's just dropped 2 places in a big corners. I'm skipping on already.
Yeah, flag was definitely for him as Skibbid goes off as well just ahead of him. Looks like he's struggling with his tyre temps down in 16th then. David Oldface continues onwards then. Will not come into the pits for any kind of damage. Yellow flag out at the moment caused by Swool's retired car, which is very helpfully coming back out onto track. Thank you for that one. Yeah, David Oldface able to continue then. Valente now all at the back of Panic, and this is really the only close fight going on at the moment throughout the field. But what's happening up front? Snedden is really doing well to get away here from Nigel Piggle and build that gap between himself and Adrian. The gap now between Adrian and Snedden, 7.7 seconds. I think that if we can just creep that gap up a little bit more, Snedden might have played it well here to stay out on the mediums. Of course, it does depend on how quickly he can get past the other drivers as well. Adrian's not the only one who's going to fall behind here once he comes into the pits. It'll be interesting to see who he gets stuck behind.
Yeah, it says. Obviously, Snedden's shown us that you can run long on, or Snedden and Tadas, sorry. Both the Alpha Male boys are showing us that you can go long on these medium tyres. Nigel's probably the biggest loser here on them hards because he doesn't seem to be putting much dent into the times or anything. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out at this point. I do think Snedden will try and push. Well, Snedden and Tadas, sorry. Oh no, I'm going to say top 3. The top 3 are going to push for going softs, I think. We'll probably see him in, what, 24, 25, I imagine.
Yeah, potentially. I think they'll do well. They will do really well to stretch the medium tyres that far. I know that we've had a safety car now, but at this point of the race, Snedden don't really have a reason to pit. I mean, he's now 8 seconds ahead of Adrian. He actually has more pace than Adrian has on those hards at the moment, on those mediums. So perhaps they have still got good life left in them. And he can extend this stint. Of course, he might have one eye on the championship, really. We know that his championship challengers aren't doing too well at the moment. FPR Locker, currently down in 8th place. He might have one eye on him. His teammate, obviously, Tadas, is now only 29 points behind him in the championship, in 3rd place. So, they are both on the same strategy, of course, at this point. I don't know if that's arranged between the two of them. But yeah, that's something for Snedden to think about then, as he's got the gap up to Nigel Piggle now, 6.4 seconds. And of course, something else to mention as well is, when is Nigel Piggle going to come into the pits?
Yeah, it's the hard tyres seem to have lost a life. I mean, Snedden's pulling out a couple of times per corner currently on Nigel, so that he's obviously either pushing ready to come into the pits, Snedden, or them hard tyres have just got to that cliff and started falling off, as we know they do quite dramatically. And given that Delta keeps going up per corner, I imagine them hard tyres will be getting give up, and this probably isn't what Nigel wants at this point. I imagine he definitely wants to try and get to the softs. I know I said that about the other two gents, but obviously the hard tyres in the outer should get him to stretch enough to get to the soft tyres. But
well, an even bigger problem here for Adrian is that Magsy's now catching him on the mediums.
Yeah.
Tadas is now catching Nigel Piggle. So somehow those medium tyres really are working for the likes of Tadas, Snedden and Magsy.
Yeah, which it's strange to say that that they are working and coming to life, and that they're saying how old Taras's are, that he's still able to pump the laps in and keep up with Nigel. Yeah, maybe it's track temperature as well, because it doesn't look really hot, and perhaps them hard tyres just they aren't getting the temperatures into them that they want, or maybe they've pushed a bit too hard and the temperatures are through the roof. Something's not right. I'd expect to see this hard runners be pulling, but not dropping the time like we are seeing.
Yep, Nigel Piggle now over 7 seconds back from leader Snedden at the moment. Adrian's now trickled over into 9 seconds back from Snedden. He's making slight ground on Tadas at the moment, but Magsy is really hurrying him along. Not too much going on throughout the rest of the field at the moment. Valente in 6th place on 11 lap old mediums as Tadas into the pits then. So 18 laps he's managed to do then on those medium tyres. It'll be interesting to see what tyres he chooses in his pit stop.
Yeah, I am Nigel on board. I think if he wants to continue one and to another driver. He has put the hards on, so he's going to the end on the hards, which I think that's the only choice he had, to be honest, at this point. Perhaps he can get
It is a little early, isn't it? It's a little early.
Yeah, it is. I mean, in reality, he should get the undercut on Nigel when he comes in. But is he going to have that much of a gap between him? And potentially, we think Nigel's going to extend his run up for another 5-6 laps and put the softs to the end.
Crucially now, that frees up Nigel Piggle and Adrian slightly, with Tadas gone from in between them. Gap now at 8.9 seconds, so Adrian's starting to find a little bit more in terms of pace over Snedden. He's managing to get caught up to the back of Nigel Piggle. I don't know if the DRS is going to help him now as well. Plug that gap even further to Snedden out in front. If Snedden pits, he'll come out, I would expect, just behind Soprano Legend in 8th place, which will give him about 12 seconds or so to make up over Adrian. About 12 or 13 seconds now. Is that doable with the time left?
I think so, but it's a lot to ask for on a track where you can't really overtake unless you're on the main straight. As T-Jerk's woes continue for his race, and he has lost his front wing, which is an absolute shame for the Alpine driver. My game glitched slightly. His front wing magically reappears around the corner. So scratch what I just said, but he is on a nightmare.
He's got a front wing.
Nigel Piggle crucially picks up a corner cut time penalty.
He's got 2 of them now. That's 6 seconds of him then. So he's going to do well to finish even inside the points as it stands. Those 6 seconds. Of course, other drivers have got penalties at the moment, and that is probably a good point to talk about the penalties drivers have at the moment, if I could remember which one it is. There we go. 6 seconds for Nigel Piggle, 3 seconds for FPR Locker, 3 seconds for Panic End, 3 seconds for Midfield Maestro and Mongo 2. David Lawface with 5 seconds at the moment, down in 12th place. Also speeding in the pit lane, unfortunately for him. Oh, Snedden then looks like he's really struggling with those tyres. Now, big wobble for him as Tadas now sets off those hard tyres. Interesting to see his pace. He's in 11th at the moment. And what kind of comeback he can make after running P3 for so long.
As you've been talking about that, I was just on board. There was a little battle going on between Nigel and Adrian, and resulted in a bit of wheel banging down into turn 2, I'm going to say. Nigel managed to keep the place, but he's struggling on them hard tyres now. I imagine he's going to want to come in soon to put whatever tyre he wants to put on, but Adrian is all over the back of him here. I imagine he'll get the move done into this when he gets DRS in these next 2 zones, but Nigel is probably going to defend it for his life.
Yeah, Nigel Piggle and Adrian, no love lost between these two. They throw a few barbs at each other every now and then in the Discord chats. and in the Twitch chat even. So I don't imagine Nigel Piggle will allow Adrian any room into turn 1, but it looks like he might get it done even before the braking zone into turn 1, but he does indeed hold the inside line, then round the first corner looking to squeeze Adrian out wide, and he has managed to temporarily hold on to this second place. Now Adrian's going to try and throw it around the outside. Nigel holding up the inside, though. Brilliant driving from the Haas driver to keep Adrian behind at the moment.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I mean all this is doing, this is benefiting Magsy that's sat behind him, keeping up trouble. He's just waiting for maybe being a contact between the drivers and then just pouncing on the opportunity that comes.
Yeah, as we can see, the gap has grown slightly now out in front of Snedden, who we knew was struggling on those medium tyres, surely now looking to extend this into a medium to soft run then. Adrian will spend another lap behind Nigel Piggle, who might look to come in when Snedden does, even, as they're both looking to run the softs till the end. Snedden stays out once again for another lap, and interestingly, Adrian has slightly more ERS at the moment, but Nigel Piggle's going to stay out for another lap then and try and hold up the AlphaTauri another go round.
Yeah, it looks like there's a big gap between the two drivers this time. The DRS is really powerful as Adrian is closing that gap back down again. He's just a little bit too far behind as he goes into the second DRS zone. Once again, probably just a bit too far behind, so I took some time out on the last few corners then. Fantastic driving from Nigel, it is. Obviously, he is just trying to hold him up, and this will benefit him when he decides he wants to come in for softs as well, because in Adrian escape, so he is keeping that gap down for himself, which benefits himself and Snedden. I mean, I think we're going to be in for a really good end to this race.
Yep, Nigel Piggle doing Snedden a huge favour here, and crucially now, if Snedden was to come into the pits, he'd probably come out just behind Locker now, second place in the championship FPRL Locker, so there's a couple of cars that he would get the jump on now that he wouldn't have done just a couple of laps ago.
And Snedden pulls the
and he's
in the
coming into
pits.
the pits. Yep. So it'll be interesting now to see if Nigel does follow him in or does carry on round, and he's carried on round for another lap.
That surprised me. I would have thought to try and match Snedden's strategy, but I am on board with him, and it is a set of softs going on as predicted. But Snedden's got so much pace, charging down the front guys again, and as you predicted correctly, comes out just behind Locker.
Yeah, we gutted he didn't quite get the jump on him. Bit of contact there between Magsy and Nigel Piggle. I think Magsy's now ahead of Nigel Piggle. You know, Adrian threw the almightiest of moves up the inside of him into turn 1. It was a real cheeky swerve from left to right and really, really late dived up the inside of Nigel Piggle, but it had to be done, and he does now clear the Haas driver, and so too does Magsy. Believe it or not, Magsy didn't quite get the same treatment from Nigel Piggle, but Adrian did. I think he was almost waved through by Nigel Piggle. So Magsy now second place. Yeah, Snedden down into 5th then. 10.5 laps now left of the race. The gap between the leader and Snedden, who was leading until he took his pit stop last lap, is now 7.2 seconds, so it's game on now for Snedden. Can he plug a 7-second gap in the space of 10 laps?
Yeah, I think he can easily do that. I've been on board for him throughout this, and as mentioned, he come out just behind Locker, and he's marginally pulled a few second gap between him and Locker. So this is a mile on the mission, and we know them soft tyres have got the extra grip on him compared to everyone else around them. It's really they're on 20 lap old tyres pretty much. So yeah, he's going to easily close this gap, and I think he's banked on for podium at this, well, for first place side.
Well, 6 seconds now between Adrian and Snedden in what is just about half a lap, really. So brilliant place from Snedden at the moment. One driver who we've not really spoke too much about is Belente. He's coming up in 3rd place at the moment on 18 lap old mediums, 1 lap older than Magsy's, but is getting closer to the Williams driver, who at the moment does currently have second place. Depending on what Snedden does, you might have the bar for a podium at this rate, but Valente then might be looking to get a podium himself here.
Yeah, definitely. We know them hard tyres on Adrian's car. Luke feels pulling that gap out for Mags now, but if Mags and Valenti can do what Snedden did on them mediums, he's still got a bit of life in him. And yeah, he'll hope he can get onto the podium, Valenti.
Snedden with a 1:17.7 to be expected. By far the fastest lap of this race. The gap down to 4.8, then 2.2 seconds in that last lap. Snedden pulled out of Adrian, out in front then. And Adrian now has found a little bit of pace. He's managed to get the gap up to himself and Magsy slightly, but he's got nowhere near the pace of Snedden as we expected on those soft tyres.
Yeah, it's he's obviously he has done an unbelievable, actually you could say, to pull them mediums through 24 laps pretty much. And yeah, it's just a case of I think it's a case of when does he take the lead and not if.
Let's see how quickly Snedden can dispatch of Valente just ahead of him. I imagine it'll be into the braking zone of turn 1, as is the difference between 1 lap old softs and 19 lap old mediums as they come around the final corner now. 30% ERS for Snedden, 70% for Valente. It's not a given. Valente might defend, but isn't really choosing to defend. I think he knows that his fight isn't with Snedden, and indeed waves the Alfa Romeo through them. Valente perhaps thinking a little bit smart that he might need that if he does catch up to Magsy, who is currently struggling with his ERS at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. As we've just seen Nigel Piggles set the fastest lap of the race. He's a man on the mission, charging through the pack at P9 with them fresh softs on as well. He's got a bit more work to try and cut through some of these back markers. Not as easy as what Snedden's got currently. So he probably still could be on for a podium, but it's a lot of work to try and ask of Nigel at this point.
Yeah, down in 9th place, of course, carrying 6 seconds worth of penalties as well. So, just going to go on to lap 29. Then Adrian coming around the final couple of corners now. Snedden all over the back of Magsy and will surely be ahead of him at the end of the straight. If Magsy's clever now, he'll choose not to fight, of course, with Snedden. As I mentioned, these two, Valente and Magsy, not really fighting Snedden nor Magsy. I think Magsy knows that, and he's let Snedden straight through then. So the gap now 2.5 seconds between Snedden and Adrian. Not too much going on further back. Got 15 seconds back at the moment. Tadas in P5. Soprano P6. Midfield Maestro P7. He's in a bit of an unfortunate race, hasn't he, TJ? He was really up at the front in the opening stages. But down in 7th now, carrying some penalties as well. So as it stands, we'll struggle to get some good points today.
Yeah, definitely. I think at that little bit of a spin, that we're not quite sure what happened, but that pretty much ruined his race. And yeah, as you say, he's got a penalty currently, but he has got Nigel behind him. He's on 9 seconds worth of penalties now. So Nigel, as much as he had a brilliant race, he isn't going to get a decent finish position at this point.
No, those 9 seconds are going to come back to hurt him. Tadas now picking up 3 seconds himself for good measure. So Willibum, who crashed out in the early part of qualifying here, really has a chance at some good points now after avoiding picking up a penalty so far. He's on 20 lap old hards though, so he's going to have a good job, although the drivers really ahead of him are all on similar tyres, apart from Tadas, who has 9 lap old hards on at the moment. We're watching a very close fight for 6th place at the moment, with Nigel Piggles Haas coming right up behind now, and we'll be looking to get rid of these two drivers very quickly.
Yeah, I am stumbled with Sned, and he stalled a little bit. He isn't really closing that gap to Adrian that we saw him do to top four into the top runner side. He is picking time up now, but yeah, he hasn't really been showing the pace he has been um, to get past Magzi and Valenti. Maybe he was just trying to cool tyres down a little bit before pushing again.
He's 1.3 seconds back at the moment. It's 1.2 now. He won't get DRS on this lap. He might try and get it the next time around, of course. How quickly until those soft tyres become burnt out then. 5 laps to go as Adrian leads us on to lap 31. Still 1.3 seconds ahead. Crucially, Adrian does have slightly more ERS, I should say, as Valenti gets ahead of Magzi then. And Magzi trying to come back with the undercut there, unable to do so, and Valenti does pull into 3rd place then.
Yeah, that's a brilliant move from Valenti there, and nice try from Magzi to try to defend it. Obviously, Magzi will just want to try to stay in the DRS zone now. And perhaps in the couple laps we'll just see the place being traded. And it is a case of which driver is going to play smart here. I mean, both drivers are capable of doing it, so it's going to be a last lap battle for P3, I imagine.
Well, this one's been brewing for about 5 laps or so between these drivers. Valenti choosing the right moment to really push and get close to Magzi. Interestingly enough, though, Snedden is still 1.3 seconds back here off Adrian. As you mentioned, TJ, he seems to be struggling. I don't know if he's just under pressure a little bit here, but throwing it into corners and understeering like crazy. Losing time crucially to Adrian here.
Yeah, it's really strange. It is like you say, like he's under pressure and he's just trying to, you know, finish first and extend his championship lead out, which still not exhausted to finish his P2 here, to be honest. Yeah, perhaps just needs to take a lap or so just to cool himself back down, get his head shaped, and then really push Adrian.
Yeah, you'd think he'd have the advantage on the tyres. I mean, I know these are 6 laps now, but it just... Yeah, he was really, really closing up to the back of the AlphaTauri, and now he just seems to have hit, you know, a wall in terms of progress. I don't know if the drag has got anything to do with that off the back of Adrian's car, but yeah, he just cannot close up to the back of him. Especially for the second sector, he needs to be doing that.
Yeah, it's really strange. He's got to be careful as well because Adrian is closing on the back of, I think it's Skevid or TJ. So he is going to pick up DRS as, yeah, once again I see a lot of settings have been incorrect and we see TJ live through a ghostly Skevid. I mean, at this point, it looks like Adrian's going to get the win as Magzi picks up a 3-second time penalty.
Well, he's been pushing and pushing to try and keep
Snedden
up with Valenti. As Snedden then, a 3-second time penalty. We saw the pressure that Snedden found himself coming under, unable to keep the car where he wants it, put it on track where he wanted it to. And he's now run wide, picked himself up a 3-second time penalty, and as it stands, the race is now run really in terms of the winner today, unless there's some late drama here for Adrian.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the back marker will cause him some issues, but we know Ghosting's on, so it won't cause many issues for him. Yeah, all Adrian is doing now is keep his head down, keep it clean, and yeah, he's got his win he needs. Same as P3.
Well, I don't.
We'll go on, sorry.
Carry on.
As the same as P3 now, it's Valenti's lose. Obviously, that 3-second time penalty for Magzi pretty much nails P3 for Valenti there. All he needs to do is keep it clean as well in these last couple of laps.
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't think many drivers after lap 25 would have picked Adrian to stand on the top step of the podium, but with just 2 laps to go now, he's the almost dead certain favourite to be doing so. in just a little over 2 minutes' time. And he's drove an interesting race in terms of strategy, making those hard tyres dance, but he really has pulled the best out of those hard tyres. I think Maxi will be a bit deflated as well because he knows his race is run now as well. He will do no higher than 4th place unless Snedden picks himself up another 3-second penalty. But even with the penalty, TJ, Snedden can't get within the DRS of Adrian.
No.
So it might not even matter, this 3-second penalty.
At all, it is, as you say, through sector 2, where it's really crucial next time. He isn't making the time up anymore, and I think that's maybe what some of the drivers were saying to me before the race, that the soft tyres, as much as we saw that we looked like we were okay in qualifying, perhaps for race pace, they just drop off too quick, and through sector 2 where you need them, they just don't deliver for you.
Yeah, in fact, Adrian's now pulling out a gap on those 26 lap hard tyres. So Snedden, I think, he knows he will do no better than P2 now. Not much else going on track at the moment. Quick rundown of the penalties for you then. Snedden, Magzi, Tadas, Soprano Legend, Panic End, Midfield Maestro, Mongo, no not Mongo, sorry, Skivid with the 3 seconds. Nigel Pickle picking up 9 seconds. That will put him down to 8th place as it stands, behind Soprano Legend and Willy Bum, who might find himself here gaining. He'll only gain the 1 place now, unfortunately. Willy Bum, I think his tyres have gone right off as well. And FPR Locker will drop to 10th place. And Panic End, there's a yellow flag out for an Alpine.
Yeah, I think that's T-Jerk.
T-Jerk, yeah, right chance. As Adrian then is coming around the final couple of corners. As we mentioned, I don't think many viewers nor drivers in the field would have picked Adrian to stand on the top step after the strategy he has run, but he crosses the line and takes the win around the Hungaroring in Tier 3. Snedden, well, it was a close second on track, but 5 seconds back on the timing screens. Valente in 3rd place for Ferrari. A great drive from him. 4th from Maxime Williams. I think he'll take that, really. I think he'll be disappointed he didn't quite manage to get onto the podium. Tadas in 5th place, unable to keep up with his teammates' pace once again, but still storing good points for Alfa Romeo in the Constructors' fight. In 6th place, great recovery from him in the end after crashing out in the early part of qualifying. He'll be more than happy with the 8 points he'll get for that. Soprano Legend in 7th. Nigel Pickle, after his penalties applied, in 8th, running a similar strategy to Snedden, but unfortunately the penalties were his Achilles heel. And FPR Locker in 9th place for McLaren, and Panic End will pick up the final points position then in 10th place. Let's see who we can get into the party for their post-race interviews then, as we're waiting for the last couple of drivers to come over. Right, there we go. Get to watch a lovely podium animation now. And, you know, TJ, that race could have gone so much different, as I don't think many people would disagree with Willy Bum for driver of the day there from 20th to 6th. Great from him. But that race could have gone so different if Nigel Pickle didn't defend so hard against Adrian. It might have been a walk in the park for Adrian. He might not have had to be a worry at all, really, about the win.
Yeah.
We saw that fight, and I imagine, yeah, Adrian will have no problem about calling out Nigel Pickle for that.
No, not at all. Yeah, it could have cost him the race there. Luckily, but yeah, it was probably unnecessary defending from Nigel.
Adrian to his limits and forced him into audacious overtake, really, from the AlphaTauri to get past the. And there's your bottom 10. We've already run through the points finishes. It is Midfield Maestro, unfortunately missing out on points despite his good qualifying and race performance. David Lawface, no points for him despite making up 4 places from his 16th position on the grid. Mongo 13th, unable to find any pace today. Quite suit his driving 13th for him in Red Bull. T-Jerk in 14th. We knew he had qualifying pace and early race pace, but unable to convert that into a strong points finish. The S-Club might be disappointed. Qualifying 6th, but 15th. He was in the wars all race, really, and unable to get any wins today. Skirit Swilzer, I'm not good. Iron Jaw and Hobnob round off the bottom 5. Iron Jaw first F, having the best of evening qualifying right down the pack, being eliminated in Q1 and then finishing in 19th place. Got a couple of drivers in the party for a podium interview. It is the two I think most people want to hear from, as it doesn't look like we're going to get Balente in here, unfortunately. So it is Snedden and Adrian that join us then. So of course Adrian winning the race, Snedden P2. TJ, I'll let you interview Adrian this week if you want. Our race winner, and we'll kick things off then with Snedden. So Snedden, good qualifying performance in the end. I think we knew you were going to be on the front row with that early pace. Did you expect that yourself coming into the qualifying session?
Yeah, I knew I had a chance of being in the top 3 at least. I know Adrian and Igor are quite quick around here, but yeah, I was sort of expecting for the front row, and with Nigel going out in Q2, it sort of just worked out.
No, definitely. We know you had the pace, and as I said, I think you were most people's pick, at least for the top 3, if not the top 2 or pole position. Going on to the race then, I can't quite remember the top tyres, was it you started on? Or was it soft tyres?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Medium tyres it was, wasn't it? And you took them in the race, not needing to take an early pit stop, and especially, avoiding what Adrian did. What was you came into the pits?
79. Yeah, and then I he was gonna hold him up.
And did you think that pitting, I think it was lap 25 you came in to change onto those soft tyres. Did you think you'd make the gap? Did you know kind of what was going on behind? Did you expect yourself to be able to close up to Adrian at the end there?
Well, at the rate I was catching him initially, I kind of thought I was going to catch him, but then I think my softs finished on like 80. My front left was like 85% because they were used ones from Quali. So yeah, I got past Balente and I think it was Magsy, and they just sort of died. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew, kind of suspected that you didn't really, and I think that showed, obviously, like you said, in terms of the pace. At the end there, you were catching him by a massive rate early on, and then that kind of fizzled away, and then 3-second penalty. It was kind of game over at that point. How do you approach these races now? I mean, obviously you were catching Adrian, and if it had been a tough fight between you two, because we saw it, a couple of times earlier on where there was a move to be had, and you kind of thought second about it when you were fighting your way back through. Do you have one eye on the championship? Of course, you have to at this stage, coming into the second half of the season, but does it stop you from taking any risks?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really try and move people, but yeah, I guess like a bit of me just thinks about the championship. I don't know who's second up this race, but yeah, just who up, like I know 9 up to me eventually, but yeah, I do take a bit less risks, but yeah, still got to just give it everything, I guess.
Great result from you today. Congratulations on your P2 and most importantly the championship, because you increase your lead no matter at the top. I think we've got Balente into the party now, so if you can include your audio, Balente, and if you want to interview Balente, our third place finisher, and then you can interview Adrian if you like.
Yeah, thanks, Pedal. Congratulations to Stan on his P2, and congratulations to P3 to you as well, Balente. How did you feel about the Hungary ring?
Who's that to?
To you, Balente, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, it's one of my favourite tracks. I was quite confident, at least top 5 going into it.
Yeah, I mean, you apologies got me where you qualified, but qualified in the top five.
Yeah, I was fifth, and I messed my last one up in the second to last corner. I caught the outside curve and slid wide. I might have been P3 without that. But
Exactly, the points in the race. That's
yeah,
obviously you got some nice start to avoid the manic start that we saw. I think I was a bit further back, so perhaps you avoided it.
yeah, I just hugged the outside on turn one. I did another league on Saturdays, and we did Hungary there, and it was absolute carnage. So I thought I'm just sticking to the outside out the way. Turn one.
Yeah, don't blame you. We did discuss that on me and Bill discussed about the start and what drivers might try do, and yeah, I don't blame you trying to stick it on the outside.
Yeah.
But your base, you kept it nice and clean. It looked quiet for yourself until probably the last stint of the race. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's decent. I've managed to keep the mediums going. They were on 70% at the end, and I had Magsy behind me pushing me, and it was horrible to through turns 3 and just wanted to go every time. And I thought I'm either going to beat or pick up penalties here, but luckily I didn't.
Yeah, me and Biddle commented that it was a great battle between you and Magsy, and it probably could have come down to last lap, but then unfortunately Magsy picked that time penalty up.
Yeah.
Were you close to a time penalty yourself? Was that playing on your mind?
Yeah, I was one warning away, and I thought if I get that penalty, his eyes are gonna light up. I thought he might try and send it on final, but luckily I just held the gap.
Yeah, I mean it was a fantastic race from yourself.
Cheers.
Great result for the Ferrari team. And yeah, congratulations on your career.
Nice one, cheers, mate.
So, Adrian, P1, how are you feeling?
It's a good race. It's a good race.
I mean, yeah, from our perspective, it looked interesting. It was full of a few surprises. But I mean, from your quali, you're definitely on the pace, and you started in a decent place, and we're holding up in the top three.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I said commenting on your qualifying and how you had the pace for the race.
Yeah, I did. To be fair, but every race this season, basically, I've shown I had the pace, but couldn't put it together in the race for most tracks.
Yeah, you have become a bit of a running. It has become a bit of a running joke in the Discord. But no, it was fantastic to see up there today. Battling the title race. I mean, the one thing that probably shocked the viewers and probably some of the drivers was the fact that for the strategy you were on, and for what we thought Snedden could do, that you finished P1. I mean, did you shock yourself in that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I did not expect to finish on the podium, to be honest with you. I thought I was going to bin it in the first few laps, but I got my shit together and I finished the race for the first time in a while.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I got heavily comms curse last week. I'll give you that one, and the week before, so I'll give that one as well. I mean, probably one of the main talking points that we commented on was when you caught Nigel, and you two had a good little. Potentially, Nigel was defending a little hard. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, especially on the first one. Was it the second DRS zone? He put wide. I think it was just off the curb, to be honest. And yeah. And for the second time, I went on the outside again. I realised I didn't have it. So for the third time, I went for the inside. I had to. Otherwise, I wouldn't get the move done. And eventually.
Yeah. I mean, we did. A bit on notice that he was Nigel held you up quite a bit, and then you got through, and he pretty much just waved Magsy through.
Did he?
It looked like that. He didn't put as much fight up that he did against you for certain. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see on the the podium and winning the race. Hopefully this gives you a bit of confidence going forward, and perhaps close that gap and continue pushing for the driver championship. As we move, I think it's from Spa, if I'm correct. Do you like Spa as a track?
Oh, I hate it. I despise it.
So expect to see a there then, yeah.
But to be fair, I hated this track and see where I finished. So, you never know.
Well, I think either way, he's got a very big cross on his back that you are chasing down now. Hopefully we can keep this until the end, but congratulations on your P1.
Thank you.
And I'll pass back over to Biddle.
Yeah, congratulations, Adrian. Echoed by me there on your win today yourself, and congratulations, Belente, on your P3 after your hard fight with Magsy 2. That's all we've got time for this evening. As always, we'll be back tomorrow with Tier 1's race around the same track at the same time, 8 PM UK time, and Tier 2 on Friday, 8 PM UK time. So be sure to tune in there. Also got the return of our F2 Championship this Sunday at 8 PM. I think it's around Bahrain this week, following the opening round at Monza a couple of weeks back. So be sure to tune in for that one as the season gets into full swing there. Thanks once again for joining me on commentary tonight, TJ. Always fantastic to be joined by you on Wednesday evenings. But that is all we've got time for. As I've said, Snedden increases his championship lead despite finishing second place today. Is there anyone who can catch him in these last 9 races now? The only way to find out is to join us next week at I have no idea, because I can't remember the calendar, so it'll be a surprise unless someone ruins it for you tomorrow, or tune in then.